The waiting room at Children's Medical Center buzzed with quiet conversations and the occasional sound of a child's laughter. Lily Rodriguez sat in one of the smaller chairs, her legs swinging back and forth because they didn't quite reach the floor. At 8 years old, she looked even smaller than her age, especially wrapped in her grandmother's old purple cardigan that hung loose around her shoulders. She clutched her stuffed bunny, Mr. Hopscotch, against her chest. The bunny had seen better days. One ear was slightly chewed and his white fur had turned a soft gray from countless washings and cuddles. But he was Lily's constant companion, especially on hospital days like today. Her mother, Anna, stood at the front desk, shuffling through a thick stack of papers. Lily could see the worry lines on her mom's forehead even from across the room. They'd been coming to this hospital for 6 months now, and those lines seemed to get deeper with each visit. "Next appointment is in 2 weeks, the receptionist was saying. "And Mrs. Rodriguez will need to discuss the payment plan again." Lily pretended not to hear. She was getting good at pretending not to hear things that made her mom's shoulders slump forward like that. The waiting room was packed today. Every chair seemed to have someone in it. Other kids with their parents, grandparents reading magazines, siblings playing quietly with toys. Lily had been sitting in the same spot for 20 minutes, but she needed to use the bathroom. The problem was, when she came back, her seat might be taken. She scanned the room, looking for another open spot. Most of the chairs were occupied, but there was one empty seat next to a man in a dark blue suit. He was typing on his laptop, completely focused on his work. His hair was salt and pepper gray, and he wore glasses that made him look important, like someone who probably had better places to be than a children's hospital waiting room. Lily hesitated. The man looked serious, maybe even a little scary. But her bladder was getting more urgent by the minute, and that was the only empty seat she could see. Taking a deep breath, she walked over slowly. Mr. Hopscotch bounced gently against her chest with each step. When she reached the chair, she cleared her throat softly. "Excuse me, sir." The man looked up from his computer screen. His eyes were a warm brown, and up close he didn't look scary at all. "Just tired, really, really tired. Can I sit here, please? I need to go to the bathroom and I don't want to lose my spot when I come back, if that's okay with you." David Crawford had been reviewing quarterly reports when the small voice interrupted him. He'd chosen this corner spot specifically because it was away from most of the activity. He had a conference call in 30 minutes and needed to finish preparing his notes. But when he looked up and saw the little girl, thin, pale, with bright eyes that seemed too old for her face, something stopped him from giving his usual polite but distant response. She was sick. He could tell right away. There was something about the way children with serious illnesses carried themselves. They moved differently, spoke differently. He'd learned to recognize it during his wife's long battle with cancer 3 years ago, when they'd spent countless hours in hospital waiting rooms just like this one. "Of course you can," he said, immediately closing his laptop and sliding it into his briefcase. "I'll keep an eye on your seat." Lily's face lit up with relief. "Thank you so much. I'll be really quick. Don't let anyone else sit here, okay? I promise," he said with a small smile. She hurried toward the restrooms, her bunny tucked securely under her arm. David watched her go, noting how she moved carefully, like someone who'd learned to be gentle with her own body. He glanced over. At the front desk where a woman in scrubs was talking to another woman, presumably Lily's mother. The conversation looked tense and he could see the mother's hands clenched around a folder of papers. When Lily returned a few minutes later, she seemed surprised to find David still there. His briefcase moved to the floor to save her spot. "You stayed," she said, settling into her chair with obvious relief. "I said I would," David replied. "I always keep my promises." Lily studied him for a moment, then nodded approvingly. "That's good. My mom says promises are important. She says if you can't keep a promise, you shouldn't make one in the first place. Your mom sounds like a smart woman." "She is. She's really smart. She's just—" Lily paused, glancing toward the front desk where her mother was still talking with the staff. "She's been worried a lot lately." David followed her gaze. "Hospital visits can be stressful." "Yeah," Lily said quietly. Then, Brightening, she held up her bunny. "This is Mr. Hopscotch. He comes with me everywhere. He's not scared of doctors or needles or anything. He looks very brave," David said seriously. "What's your name?" "Lily. What's yours, David?" "Nice to meet you, David. Are you here for someone in your family?" The question caught him off guard. He wasn't here for medical reasons at all. He'd been meeting with the hospital's board about a potential donation when his phone died, and he'd come to this waiting room to find an outlet for his charger. But something about Lily's open, trusting expression made him not want to explain all that. "Not today," he said simply. "What about you? Are you here for a checkup?" Lily's hand moved unconsciously to her chest, where David could now see a small bump under her thin shirt, likely a port for chemotherapy treatments. "Sort of. I have to get medicine that makes me feel yucky for a while, but then I feel better. The doctors say it's helping me get strong again." David's chest tightened. She was so matter-of-fact about it, the way children often were about serious things. "That sounds tough," he said. "It's okay. My mom says I'm the bravest kid she knows, and the nurses here are really nice. They let me pick what flavor juice I want after." "What's your favorite flavor?" "Apple. It tastes normal, not like medicine." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the activity around them. A toddler was playing with blocks in the corner while his father looked on. A teenage girl was reading a book, an IV pole beside her chair, families navigating their own difficult journeys. "Do you have kids?" Lily asked suddenly. "No," David said. "My wife and I never had children." "Is she at work today?" David hesitated. She passed away a few years ago." Lily's expression immediately grew solemn. "I'm really sorry. That must make you very sad." The simple, honest sympathy in her voice nearly undid him. Adults usually stumbled over condolences, but children had a way of cutting right to the heart of things. "Thank you," he said. "It does make me sad sometimes. But talking to nice people like you helps." Lily beamed at this. "My mom says talking always helps, even when things are scary." "Rodriguez, Lily Rodriguez," a nurse called from across the room. Lily's head snapped up. "That's me." She stood, then looked back at David uncertainly. Do you think you'll still be here when I'm done?" "Sometimes the treatments take a while." David checked his watch. His conference call was in 15 minutes, and he had 3 meetings scheduled after that. His assistant would be wondering where he was. But looking at this brave little girl who'd asked so politely to sit beside him, who'd shared her bunny's name and her favorite juice flavor, he found himself nodding. "I'll be right here when you get back." Her smile was radiant. "Really? Really? Okay. Watch Mr. Hopscotch for me?" She placed the bunny carefully in her chair. "I'll guard him with my life," David promised. As Lily walked away with her mother, David pulled out his phone and did something he hadn't done in years. He canceled his afternoon meetings. David sat in the waiting room, staring at Mr. Hopscotch. The stuffed bunny looked back at him with one black button eye, the other slightly loose and hanging by a thread. He'd promised to guard this little rabbit with his life, and somehow that promise felt more important than any business deal he'd ever made. His phone buzzed constantly, text messages from his assistant asking where he was, missed calls from board members, a reminder notification about his conference call that was supposed to start in 5 minutes. But David silenced his phone and slipped it back into his pocket. For the first time in 3 years, work didn't feel like the most important thing in the world. The waiting room had gotten busier as the afternoon went on. More families had arrived. More children called back for treatments. David watched them all, remembering when he and his wife had sat in similar chairs, holding hands and trying to stay hopeful. Catherine had always been the strong one during her illness. Even when the EI treatments made her sick, even when she lost her hair, she'd find ways to smile. She used to say that hospitals were full of small miracles, that you just had to know how to look for them. Maybe Lily was one of those miracles. A woman approached the chairs near David. She looked exhausted, her dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, her uniform suggesting she'd come straight from work. She glanced at the empty chair where Lily had been sitting, then at David. "Excuse me?" she said softly. Is someone sitting there? Yes, David replied, gesturing to Mr. Hopscotch. A little girl named Lily. She's back getting treatment. The woman's face relaxed slightly. Oh, that's my daughter. I'm Ana Rodriguez. She sat down in the chair next to David's. She told me about you. Said a nice man was watching her bunny. David, he said, extending his hand. It's nice to meet you. Ana shook his hand, and David could feel how rough her palms were from hard work. Thank you for being kind to her. She doesn't always find it easy to talk to new people, especially here. But she came back from the bathroom all excited about her new friend. She's a remarkable kid, David said. Very brave. Anna's smile was tired, but proud. She is. Sometimes I think she's braver than I am. She paused, looking around the waiting room. I hate that she has to be brave about any of this. David nodded. He understood that feeling completely. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Anna pulled out her phone and started scrolling through what looked like job listings. David couldn't help but notice the stack of papers in her lap. Medical bills, insurance forms, payment notices. Some of them had red stamps that said, past due. How long has Lily been coming here? David asked gently. 6 months, Anna replied, without looking up from her phone. We caught it early, which is good. The doctors say her chances are really good with the right treatment. She hesitated. We're just trying to figure out how to pay for the right treatment. David's heart sank. He'd seen this too many times during Catherine's illness. Families forced to choose between their child's health and financial survival. The insurance doesn't cover everything? He asked. Anna laughed, but there was no humor in it. Insurance covers some things, not the newer treatments, not the experimental stuff that might work better. And even what they do cover, she gestured to the stack of bills. The copays alone are more than I make in a month. What kind of work do you do? I clean office buildings at night. The hours work better with Lily's schedule, and I can sometimes bring her with me if she's feeling okay, but it doesn't pay much. Anna looked embarrassed. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm telling you all this. You don't need to hear about our problems. Please don't apologize, David said. Sometimes it helps to talk. Before Anna could respond, they heard Lily's voice from across the room. Mom, David, I'm back. Lily was walking toward them slowly, holding a nurse's hand. She looked pale and tired, but she was smiling. In her free hand, she held a piece of paper. How are you feeling, sweetheart? Anna asked, standing up to hug her. Daughter? A little yucky, but not too bad. And look what I made. Lily held up her paper proudly. It was a drawing made with crayons and markers. David could see 2 stick figures sitting in chairs. One was small with long dark hair, the other taller with glasses. Between them sat a small brown animal that was clearly meant to be Mr. Hopscotch. It's you and me, David, Lily announced. I drew us waiting together, see? That's you with your computer, and that's me with my bunny. David stared at the drawing. In the corner, Lily had written in careful block letters, My friend David is nice. It's beautiful, he said, and meant it. Can I take a picture of it? Lily beamed. You really want to? I really do. As David took a photo with his phone, Lily settled back into her chair and picked up Mr. Hopscotch, hugging him tight. The medicine makes everything taste funny, she said conversationally. Even water tastes weird, but Nurse Patricia gave me extra apple juice, so that helped. Good, David said. How are you feeling now? Tired. The medicine makes me sleepy. Lily yawned as if to prove her point. But I wanted to give you this first. She held out the drawing. Are you sure? Don't you want to keep it? I can make more. Besides, friends give each other presents, right? David accepted the drawing carefully, as if it were made of gold. Thank you, Lily. This is the best present anyone's given me in a long time. Lily grinned, then curled up in her chair with her bunny. Within minutes, she was fast asleep. Anna watched her daughter with worried eyes. The treatments wipe her out, she said quietly. But she always bounces back. She's tough. She gets that from her mom, I think, David said. Anna smiled sadly. I try to be strong for her, but honestly, I'm terrified. Not just about the cancer. The doctors say the treatment is working, but about everything else. How we're going to pay for this. What happens if I lose my job because I keep missing work for appointments? Whether we'll have to move somewhere cheaper, which would mean changing hospitals. She trailed off, looking embarrassed again. Sorry, I really don't usually dump all this on strangers. You're not dumping anything, David assured her. And I don't feel like a stranger. Lily has a way of making people feel like family pretty quickly. Anna nodded. She does. Even when she was little, she could make friends anywhere. The grocery store, the park, waiting in line at the bank. She just talks to people like they've known each other forever. They sat quietly, watching Lily sleep. Other families came and went around them, but David found himself reluctant to leave. There was something about this little girl and her mother that reminded him of what mattered most in life. His phone buzzed again. This time it was his assistant calling. David declined the call and turned his phone to silent. Don't you need to get back to work? Anna asked, noticing. Work can wait, David said, and as he said it, he realized he meant it completely. When Lily woke up 20 minutes later, she looked around in surprise. You're still here, she said to David. I told you I would be. Most grown-ups say they'll do things and then they don't, Lily said matter-of-factly. But you really stayed. I always keep my promises, David replied. Lily studied him seriously. Are you going to be here next time? David glanced at Anna, who was gathering up her papers and preparing to leave. He thought about his calendar, packed with meetings and conference calls. He thought about all the important business decisions waiting for him. Then he looked at Lily, still clutching her bunny, still brave despite everything she was facing. When is your next appointment? He asked. Thursday at 2 o'clock, Lily said hopefully. David made a mental note to clear his Thursday afternoon schedule. I'll be here, he promised. And as they said goodbye, and David watched Lily and Anna walk toward the exit, he knew that something fundamental had shifted in his world. For the first time since Catherine died, he felt like he had a purpose beyond just making money and running a company. He looked down at Lily's drawing in his hands and smiled. Tomorrow he was going to make some phone calls about the Rodriguez family's medical bills. Some promises, he was learning, were bigger than the words used to make them. David couldn't stop thinking about Lily's drawing. He'd placed it on his office desk, right next to his computer where he could see it every time he looked up from his work. The simple crayon figures reminded him that there were things in life more important than quarterly reports and board meetings. It was Wednesday morning, the day before Lily's next appointment. David had already cleared his Thursday afternoon schedule, something his assistant Rebecca found completely out of character. Sir, you have the Morrison Industries meeting on Thursday, she'd reminded him. The one you've been preparing for all month. Reschedule it, David had said simply. But sir, this contract could be worth millions. Reschedule it, Rebecca. Now, sitting in his corner office on the 42nd floor, David was making a different kind of business call. Dr. Patricia Vance, the director of Children's Medical Center, was an old friend. They'd met during Catherine's treatment, and she'd been one of the few people who truly understood what he'd gone through. David, what a surprise, Dr. Vance said when she answered his call. How are you holding up? I'm doing better, Patricia. Thank you for asking. Listen, I need to ask you about something, and I need it to be completely confidential. Of course, what's on your mind? There's a patient at your hospital, 8-year-old girl named Lily Rodriguez. I'd like to know about her treatment plan and what kind of financial assistance might be available to her family. There was a pause. David, you know I can't discuss specific patient information even with you. I understand the privacy rules, David said, but I'm not asking as a curious stranger. I'm asking as someone who wants to help. Dr. Vance was quiet for a moment. Can you tell me how you know this family? David found himself smiling. I met them in your waiting room. Lily asked if she could sit next to me and we became friends. That sounds like Lily, Dr. Vance said, warmly. She's one of our favorite patients, always polite, always cheerful, even on her worst days. What I can tell you she continued carefully, is that we have several families who are struggling with the cost of treatment, even with insurance. There are programs available, but the application process can be complicated, and not everyone qualifies. What if someone wanted to help anonymously? Is that possible? Are you thinking of making a donation to the general fund? I'm thinking of something more specific. What if someone wanted to cover a particular family's entire treatment cost, all of it? The insurance gaps, the experimental treatments, everything. Dr. Vance was quiet for so long that David wondered if the call had dropped. Patricia, are you still there? I'm here, she said softly. David, that would change everything for a family like that. But are you sure? These treatments can be extremely expensive, especially if we're talking about the newer protocols. Money isn't the issue, David said. What is the issue is making sure it's done right. The family can't know who's paying. They need to think. It's coming through some kind of hospital program or charity. That can be arranged. We have several anonymous donor programs. But David, can I ask why this particular family? David looked at Lily's drawing again. In the bottom corner, she'd drawn a small heart and written, "Friends Forever" in her careful child's handwriting. Because sometimes a little girl asks if she can sit next to you, and it changes everything, he said. After he hung up with Dr. Vance, David sat in his office thinking. Catherine had always believed that everything happened for a reason. She used to say that the universe had a way of putting the right people in your path at exactly the right moment. Maybe Lily was his right person at the right moment. Maybe this was what Catherine had meant when she'd made him promise during her final days to find a way to use their wealth for something meaningful. His phone rang. It was Rebecca. Sir, I have the Morrison people on hold. They want to know if we can move the meeting to this afternoon instead of Thursday. David thought about it. The Morrison contract really was important. It would bring hundreds of jobs to the area and generate significant revenue for his company. But Thursday at 2 o'clock? He'd promised to be in a hospital waiting room with a little girl who drew pictures of their friendship. Tell them we'll have to reschedule for next week, David said. Sir, they might take their business elsewhere. Then they take their business elsewhere. David hung up and called Dr. Vance back. Patricia, it's me again. I want to move forward with helping the Rodriguez family. How quickly can we make this happen? If you're serious about this, I can have the paperwork started today. We'll set it up through our Children's Emergency Fund. The family will be told that they've been selected for a special program that covers families with exceptional medical needs and financial hardship. Perfect. And Patricia? I want to expand Lily's treatment options. Whatever experimental treatments might help her, whatever the absolute best care available is, I want her to have access to it. David, that's incredibly generous. But are you sure you want to do this without meeting the family first, getting to know them better? I know them, David said simply. I know that Lily draws pictures for strangers to make them feel better. I know that her mother works night shifts cleaning offices so she can be available for hospital visits. I know that they're good people facing an impossible situation. That's enough for me. All right. I'll handle everything on this end. The family should get the good news by tomorrow morning. David felt lighter than he had in years. For the first time since Catherine's death, he was using his wealth for something that felt truly important. That evening, David did something he hadn't done since Catherine died. He cooked dinner. Real dinner, not just the takeout he usually grabbed between meetings. He made Catherine's favorite pasta recipe, the one she'd taught him during the early days of their marriage. As he ate, he imagined what Lily and Anna were doing, probably finishing up Anna's simple dinner before Anna had to leave for her night shift. Maybe Lily was reading one of her library books or playing with Mr. Hopscotch. Tomorrow their whole world was going to change, and they wouldn't even know why. David slept better that night than he had in 3 years. The next morning, David arrived at the hospital early. He wanted to be settled in the waiting room before Lily and Anna got there. He brought his laptop as usual, but also something new, a children's book he'd picked up on his way to work. When Lily saw him sitting in their usual spot, her face lit up like Christmas morning. David, you came back. You really came back. And why? Ran over and hugged him, something that surprised them both. David hadn't been hugged by a child in, well, maybe ever. It felt wonderful. I told you I'd be here, he said, hugging her back gently. Anna followed behind, looking tired but smiling. She's been talking about you all week, she said. She made you another picture. Lily pulled a folded piece of paper from her pocket. This one showed 3 stick figures, clearly Lily, Anna, and David, standing under a rainbow. It's our family picture, Lily announced proudly. David's throat tightened. Our family? Well, you're like family now, Lily said matter-of-factly. You come to my appointments and you're nice to my mom and you keep your promises. That makes you family. Anna looked embarrassed. Lily, David has his own family and his own life. He's just being kind. It's okay, David said softly. I'm honored to be part of Lily's family picture. As they sat down to wait for Lily's appointment, Anna's phone rang. She looked at the caller ID and frowned. It's from the hospital, she said nervously. Hello? David watched Anna's face change as she listened. Her eyes grew wide, then filled with tears. Are you sure? She whispered. All of it? Everything? Lily looked worried. Mommy, what's wrong? Anna was crying now, but she was smiling too. Nothing's wrong, sweetheart. Something wonderful just happened. The hospital says we've been chosen for a special program. They're going to pay for all of your treatments. All of them. Lily's mouth fell open. Really? All of them? Really? And they said you can get the new treatment. The one Dr. Martinez mentioned that might work even better. David felt his eyes getting wet. Seeing their joy, their relief, their hope, it was better than any business deal he'd ever closed. But who's paying for it? Anna asked, looking confused. They said it was an anonymous donor through their emergency fund. David cleared his throat. Sometimes good things just happen, he said gently. Maybe someone wanted to help because they could. Lily threw her arms around David again. This is the best day ever, and you're here to share it with us. As David hugged Lily back, he knew Catherine would have been proud of this moment. He'd found his purpose again, and it was sitting right there in a hospital waiting room, wearing a purple cardigan that was too big for her and carrying a worn-out bunny named Mr. Hopscotch. 3 weeks had passed since Anna received that life-changing phone call. David had kept his promise to be at every single one of Lily's appointments, and somehow it had become the most important part of his week. Sir, the Henderson Group is requesting a meeting next Tuesday at 2, Rebecca said, standing in David's office doorway with her tablet. David didn't even look up from the quarterly reports he was reviewing. Can't do Tuesday at 2, that's blocked out. I don't see anything on your calendar, it's blocked out, David said firmly. Permanently, every Tuesday and Thursday from 1 to 5. Rebecca frowned at her tablet, clearly confused. David had been doing this for weeks now, blocking out random afternoon times with no explanation. His behavior had become the talk of the executive floor. What should I tell Henderson Group? Tell them we'll meet Wednesday morning instead. After Rebecca left, David smiled to himself. Let his employees gossip all they wanted. They'd never guess that their CEO was spending his Tuesday and Thursday afternoons in a children's hospital, reading books to an 8-year-old girl and helping her with her homework. It had started small. The second week, Lily had mentioned she was behind on her reading because the treatments made her tired. David had offered to help her catch up during their waiting time. The third week, he'd brought her a new book, a story about a brave rabbit who went on adventures which seemed perfect for a girl who carried Mr. Hopscotch everywhere. Now David found himself looking forward to these hospital visits more than any business meeting. Lily had started calling them their friendship time, and she was right. David couldn't remember the last time he'd had a real friend, someone who genuinely enjoyed his company without wanting anything from him. Well, almost without wanting anything. Lily did have one ongoing request. David, can you read the dragon part again? Lily asked, curled up in her usual chair with Mr. Hopscotch in her lap. They were waiting for her Thursday appointment, and David was reading from a fantasy novel about a young knight. It was probably a bit advanced for an 8-year-old, but Lily loved the exciting parts. Again? David asked with mock exasperation. We've read that chapter 3 times. The dragon is so cool, though, and I like how you do the dragon voice. David cleared his throat and began reading in his deep, rumbling dragon voice, making Lily giggle. Several other families in the waiting room looked over with amused smiles. Anna watched from her seat nearby, where she was filling out insurance paperwork, or rather, pretending to fill out insurance paperwork. Most of their medical expenses were now covered by the mysterious donor program, which meant Anna had fewer forms to complete. But she kept bringing paperwork anyway because sitting in a hospital doing nothing made her too nervous. "You're spoiling her," Anna said quietly to David during one of Lily's bathroom breaks. "How am I spoiling her?" David asked, genuinely confused. "The books, the special attention, always being here when she needs you. She's getting attached." David felt a pang of worry. "Is that bad?" Anna sighed. "No, it's wonderful. She lights up every time she sees you. But David, I keep wondering, why are you doing this? You're obviously a busy man with important responsibilities. Why are you spending so much time with us?" It was a fair question, and one David had been asking himself. The simple answer was that being with Lily and Anna made him happy in a way he hadn't felt since Catherine died. But the deeper answer was more complicated. "Your daughter makes me remember what's important in life," David said finally. "I spent 3 years after my wife died just going through the motions. Work, meetings, more work. I was successful, but I wasn't really living. Lily changed that." "She has that effect on people," Anna agreed. "Even when she was little, she could make friends with anyone. The mailman, the grocery store clerk, other patients here. She just sees the good in everyone. Including me," David said softly. When Lily returned, she had news. "Dr. Martinez says the new medicine is working really well," she announced, proudly. "My numbers are getting much better and I might not need as many treatments soon." David felt his heart soar. "That's wonderful, Lily," she said. "I'm responding even better than they hoped. Mom, can we celebrate? Can we get ice cream?" "After my treatment," Anna smiled. "I think that sounds like a perfect celebration." "David, you have to come too," Lily insisted. "You're part of this good news. Dr. Martinez even asked about you." "She did?" "Uh-huh. She wanted to know about my friend who comes to all my appointments and reads me stories. I told her you were the nicest man in the world and that you keep all your promises." David felt his cheeks warm with embarrassment and pride. After Lily's treatment, which went smoothly and left her less tired than usual, they walked to the ice cream shop across the street from the hospital. It was a small place with cheerful, yellow walls and a dozen flavors in round containers behind glass. "I want 2 scoops, Lily declared. "Chocolate and strawberry. This is a special occasion." "2 scoops it is," Anna said, pulling out her wallet. "My treat," David said quickly, stepping up to the counter. "David, you don't have to." "I want to. It's not every day we celebrate such good news." As they sat at a small table by the window, Lily swinging her legs and working on her ice cream, she looked at David thoughtfully. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Of course. Are you rich?" David nearly choked on his ice cream. Anna looked mortified. "Lily, that's not polite to ask." "It's okay," David said, though his mind was racing. "Why do you ask, Lily?" "Well, you have really nice clothes and you always have the newest books for me, and you never seem worried about missing work for my appointments. And—" She paused, looking suddenly shy. "And what?" "And I heard Mom talking to Grandma on the phone. She said our mystery angel came right after we met you, and she thought that was a weird coincidence." David's heart pounded. Had Lily figured it out? "Your mom might be right that it's a coincidence," he said carefully. "Sometimes good things just happen when you need them most." Lily studied his face for a long moment. "Maybe," she said finally. "But I think angels can look like regular people. Sometimes." Anna was staring at David with wide eyes, clearly putting pieces together in her head. "Lily," David said gently, "what matters most is that you're getting better and that we're friends, right?" "Right," Lily agreed. but she kept watching. Him with those two wise eyes. They finished their ice cream and walked back toward the hospital parking garage. As they said goodbye, Lily hugged David extra tight. "Thank you," she whispered in his ear. "For what?" "For being my friend. For reading to me. For keeping your promises." She pulled back and looked at him seriously. "And for everything else, too." David's throat felt tight. "You don't need to thank me, Lily. You've given me more than I've given you." As he drove home that evening, David realized that Anna and Lily suspected his role in their good fortune. Part of him was worried about that, but a bigger part of him was relieved. Keeping such a big secret from people he'd grown to care about had been harder than he'd expected. His phone rang as he pulled into his driveway. It was Dr. Vance. "David, I wanted to update you on Lily's progress," she said. "The new treatment protocol is working beautifully. Her response has been even better than we hoped." "That's wonderful news." "It is. And David, I want you to know that what you've done for this family goes beyond just paying for treatment. Anna told me today that Lily's emotional state has improved dramatically since she started having a friend at her appointments. You've given her hope and stability during a very scary time." David felt overwhelmed with emotion. "She's given me the same thing, Patricia. I think Catherine would be proud of what you're doing." As David sat in his car in his driveway, looking at his enormous empty house, he realized Dr. Vance was right. Catherine would be proud. But more than that, he was finally proud of himself again. Tomorrow was Friday, which meant no hospital visit. But David found himself already looking forward to Tuesday, when he'd see Lily again and find out what new drawings she'd made and which book she wanted him to read next. For the first time in 3 years, David felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. 6 months later, David was sitting in the same waiting room where everything had started. But this time was different. This time, he wasn't waiting for Lily's treatment. He was waiting for the words he'd been hoping to hear for almost a year. Lily sat beside him, looking healthier than he'd ever seen her. Her hair had grown back in soft curls, and there was color in her cheeks again. She was still small for her age, but she had energy now, the kind of bounce in her step that healthy kids have. Mr. Hopscotch was there too, of course. The bunny was even more worn out than before, with new patches sewn on by Anna's careful hands. But he was still Lily's constant companion. "I'm nervous," Lily whispered to David. "Why?" "You've been feeling great." "I know, but what if Dr. Martinez has bad news? What if the cancer came back?" David took her small hand in his. "Whatever Dr. Martinez says, we'll handle it together, okay?" "Promise?" "I always keep my promises," David said with a smile. Anna was pacing near the window, too anxious to sit still. Over the past months, she'd become like family to David. They'd shared countless conversations during Lily's treatments, and Anna had slowly opened up about her dreams and fears. David had quietly helped in other ways too. When Anna's car broke down, a charity program had provided her with reliable transportation. When she mentioned wanting to go back to school, a scholarship opportunity had appeared. Anna suspected David's involvement, but they'd developed an unspoken understanding not to discuss it directly. "Rodriguez, Lily Rodriguez," a nurse called out. All three of them stood up together, which made the nurse smile. "Quite the support team," she said warmly. "Dr. Martinez will see you now." Dr. Martinez was a kind woman in her 50s who had been Lily's main doctor throughout her treatment. She'd grown fond of the whole unusual family, including David, who she'd learned was much more than just a family friend. "Well, Lily," Dr. Martinez said, looking at the charts on her computer screen, "I have some very good news for you." Lily gripped David's hand tighter. "Your latest tests show no sign of cancer. None at all. You're in complete remission." The room was silent for a moment as the words sank in. "Really?" Lily whispered. "It's really gone?" "Really and truly gone. The new treatment protocol worked, exactly as we hoped it would. You responded beautifully to everything." Anna started crying, happy tears that she'd been holding back for months. David felt his own eyes getting wet as Lily launched herself into his arms for a huge hug. "We did it, David. We beat the cancer." "You did it," David said, hugging her tight. "You were so brave through everything." "Does this mean no more treatments?" Lily asked Dr. Martinez. "Well, we'll want to see you every few months for checkups just to make sure everything stays good. But no more chemo, no more long appointments. You get to be a regular kid now." Lily beamed. "Did you hear that, mister? Hopscotch? We get to be regular kids." As they left the doctor's office, Lily was practically skipping with joy, but then she stopped suddenly in the hallway. "Wait," she said, looking serious. "If I don't need treatments anymore, does that mean you won't come to the hospital with us anymore, David?" David's heart clenched. He'd been wondering the same thing. These hospital visits had become such an important part of his life. The thought of not seeing Lily and Anna regularly made him feel empty. "Well," he said carefully, "we might not have reasons to come here as much anymore." Lily's face fell. "But we'll still be friends, right? We'll still see each other?" "Of course we'll still be friends," David assured her. "Always." "Good," Lily said, relief flooding her voice. "Because you're family now. You can't just stop being family." That evening, David invited Anna and Lily to dinner at his house. It was the first time they'd seen where he lived, and Anna's eyes went wide when they pulled up the long driveway. "David," she said quietly, "this place is enormous." "Too big for one person," David admitted. "It gets lonely." Lily ran ahead to the front door, excited to explore. "David, your house looks like a castle." As they toured the house, Lily was fascinated by everything. The library with its floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, the kitchen that was bigger than Anna's entire apartment, the living room with its huge windows overlooking the garden. "You have so many books," Lily exclaimed in the library. "Have you read all of them?" "Most of them," David said. "Would you like to borrow some?" "Can I really?" "Anytime you want." During dinner, which David had cooked himself, Lily chatted excitedly about all the things she wanted to do now that she was healthy. Go back to regular school, join the soccer team, have sleepovers with friends. "And I want to keep visiting the hospital," she added. "Not for me, but to visit other kids who are sick like I was. I want to tell them that they can get better too." David's chest swelled with pride. Even after everything she'd been through, Lily's first thought was helping others. "That's a wonderful idea," he said. After dinner, while Lily was exploring the garden with Mr. Hopscotch, Anna and David sat on the back porch talking. "I need to ask you something," Anna said quietly. "And I need you to be honest with me." David's stomach tightened. "Okay. You're our mystery donor, aren't you? You're the one who paid for everything." David looked out at Lily, who was showing Mr. Hopscotch the flowers in his rose garden. There was no point in pretending anymore. "Yes," he said simply. Anna was quiet for a long moment. "Why? Why would you do that for strangers?" "Because that little girl asked if she could sit next to me, and it changed my whole world," David said. "Because for 3 years after my wife died, I felt like I was just existing. But Lily made me feel alive again. She reminded me what was important. David, what you did, it saved her life." "She saved mine too," David said honestly. "I was lost, Anna. I had all the money in the world, but no purpose, no joy, no real connections with anyone. Lily gave me all of that back." Anna wiped tears from her eyes. "How can I ever thank you? You don't need to thank me. You gave me something precious. You let me be part of Lily's journey. You trusted me with your daughter's friendship." They sat in comfortable silence watching Lily play in the garden. "So what happens now?" Anna asked. "Now Lily gets to be a healthy, happy kid. You get to stop worrying about medical bills and start thinking about your own dreams again. And hopefully, you'll both let me keep being part of your lives." "Are you kidding?" Anna laughed. "Try getting rid of us now." 3 months later, David was back in the hospital waiting room. But this time, he wasn't there as a patient family member. He was there as the founder of the Crawford Foundation for Children's Medical Care. visiting with families who were just starting their own difficult journeys. Lily came with him on these visits, just as she'd promised. She would sit with scared children and tell them her story, show them that they could be brave, that they could get better. She still carried Mr. Hopscotch, and she'd let other kids hold him when they needed comfort. "Can I sit here?" a small voice asked. David looked up to see a little boy, maybe 6 years old, holding his mother's hand. The waiting room was crowded, and there was an empty chair next to David. "Of course you can," David said with a warm smile, remembering another little voice that had asked the same question almost 2 years ago. As the boy settled in with a coloring book, David caught Lily's eye across the room. She was reading to a teenage girl who was going through chemo, her voice gentle and encouraging. Lily looked over at David and grinned, giving him a thumbs up. It was their secret signal that meant everything was exactly as it should be. David smiled back and opened his laptop. He had work to do, not corporate reports or business deals, but letters to families telling them they'd been selected for medical assistance. Thank you notes to donors, plans for expanding the foundation's reach. It was the best work he'd ever done, and it all started because a brave little girl had asked if she could sit next to him.